Welcome to the Aro Benaiah Show, where we explore the stories of hands-on entrepreneurs and leaders shaping the world of work. My guest today is Kristin Zhivago, a seasoned revenue coach, bestseller author of Roadmap and Revenue, and founder of Shivago Partners, a digital marketing agency helping business sell the way their customer wants to buy. Kristin has an incredible career journey that bridges sales, marketing, and leadership, and I'm excited to dive into the show with her today. It's really a pleasure having you on the show, Kristin.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
Good to
thank you.
be here.
Yeah, so Kristin, what was it like growing up for you?
What was
What
what
was it
was it
like
what?
growing up?
What was it like growing up? Busy. My mother remarried when I was 8 and had 3 boys. The first one was autistic and it was sort of the built-in babysitter. So I I learned a lot about leading without provided authority. In other words, I was the babysitter. I wasn't the parent. So I had to figure out how to get them to do what I needed or what they needed um, without all that special authority. And it's actually helped me in business because I've done a lot of babysitting kind of jobs, I guess you could call it, where I go in and turn around sales and marketing departments in companies of all sizes. And everybody knows I'm there temporarily, so it's different than, somebody who's there for a long time. And the same thing applied. I managed to make sure everybody did what they were supposed to be doing without having that built-in authority. Although I will say I was anointed by the CEO. I was always brought in by the CEO. So that helped a little bit.
Wow, amazing. So what kind of environment did you grow up? And were there any influences that sparked your curiosity about selling?
Yes, both my father and my stepfather were entrepreneurs. And so I had a lot of exposure to running your own business. I started out selling things when I was very young. I would sell Girl Scout cookies and greeting cards, and I even would find some pretty looking rocks and go and sell those in the neighborhood in my wagon. I've since realized that it was the nice old ladies that were being nice rather than the rocks being very attractive to them. um, but so I was kind of selling early on, and then had a lot of selling jobs early in my career, and I learned a lot of big lessons doing that.
Wow, wow, amazing, amazing. So you have had quite a journey from being the first woman to sell machine shop to the US to becoming a top revenue coach. What did you remember most about those earlier jobs?
That job was a life changer for me. I was a senior in high school, which makes you think you know everything. And I was working for a Pratt and Whitney distributor, and he said, you can make $3,000 a week selling these tools. And I thought, well, that sounds really good. So he gave me a catalog, and back in those days, women wore mini skirts, and so it was a combination of a catalog and a mini skirt. And I'd walk in, and one shop in particular that I went into is a small shop. As usual, the foreman came out and says, "What are you doing, honey? Why are you here?" They called me honey back then. And all the guys would kind of come out and look and see what this woman was doing in the foyer. And I told him I'm selling machine shop tools for Pratt and Whitney, and he said, "Well, how is your drill bit better than the one that I'm using now?" And I didn't have a clue. I mean, they just gave me a catalog and I had a mini skirt. That was it. Okay? I didn't know anything at that point. And so I left that little hard situation and went out to the parking lot. Before I got into my old car, I said to myself, I'm going to learn everything I can about selling and technology. And I've been doing that ever since. That was the
Wow,
beginning of my career in tech and selling.
wow, that's really, really amazing.
So that
So
old that
how
old foreman changed my life. I'm sure he's dead by now, but yeah.
Wow, amazing. So how did those earlier sales experience shape your understanding of customer and human behavior?
Well, the first thing I realized is that if I didn't know what I was talking about as a salesperson, then I shouldn't even be selling. Okay, so that's the main thing. And one of the problems with selling right now is nobody wants to be sold to. Nobody wants anybody to call them or reach out to them. They're avoiding sales people as much as they can. And they can do that because they go to the website or they ask ChatGPT, who's the best and where can I find this? Selling is changing 100% right now, or I should say buying is changing 100%. Um, at the rate we're going, I would say in the next few months, maybe sooner, ChatGPT in particular is going to be the shopping friend for everybody. So you won't have to go to individual stores. You just talk to ChatGPT and who's already a trusted helper. I mean, everybody's using it.
Yeah.
So they go there and they say, this is my problem. This is what I'm trying to avoid. I don't want these. I want this. And I have these questions. And I call this the mindset of the buyer when they set out to buy, which is their desires, their concerns, and their questions. And you need to jump through those three hoops. Their desires, that's what they want. Their concerns, they've been burned before and they don't want to be burned again. And after you jump through those two hoops and you get through successfully, then they want to know the answers to very specific questions. If
Wow.
you understand this about the buyer and you've actually either had someone interview or you've interviewed the buyers yourself, you're going to know what those three things are. If you don't interview the people who've already bought from you, you will not know what those three things are.
Mm.
You'll be guessing, and you'll be guessing with the authority and confidence of AI helping you. And you'll build personas, and you'll be totally off the mark, and you'll waste all your marketing money on the wrong message. So
Wow,
that's what's happening
amazing.
now.
Yeah, I think with these three bases, it really came more like even after selling, having more like a system that collects feedback from your customers tailored to their desire, concerns, and questions will really help to actually improve our marketing and sales in the next. Yeah, this is really amazing. At what point did you realize you want to help business owners understand how customer actually want to buy?
It actually started, I started an ad agency with my husband in Silicon Valley in the early 80s. I would pick up a client, I would talk to them, I would ask them what they think is important to their customers. And then I would go out and interview their customers. And the list was not the same. Okay. The company said this, and this. And the customer said, no, that, and that. And maybe there were a few things in common on the two lists, but basically they were different. And it meant that, again, everybody worries about where they're going to put their message. But if the message is wrong, you're just wasting all your money. It has to appeal to this mindset of the buyer when they set out to buy. And AI can't give you that, unfortunately. I mean, I'm on AI all day, every day, and we test it. We're always finding new ways to help clients and ourselves with these wonderful tools. But stalking somebody, just watching their behaviors and saying all that, that doesn't get you to the mindset of the buyer when they set out to buy your specific product. It's very specific to your product. So all this demographic stuff and their behaviors, all of that does not matter. It amplifies things a little bit. It confirms some things, but it doesn't matter. The other mistake people are making is they think they need to be absolutely individualized in their messaging. They're trying to use AI to personalize their man. Here's what's interesting. I've interviewed thousands of customers for hundreds of clients. And I interview them on the phone, I ask
Yeah.
open-ended questions, and by the fifth or seventh person, there's an absolutely ironclad pattern. and they have these desires, concerns, and questions in common. You don't have to personalize it down to the individual. You just have to know those things about the buyers in general. And they use the same words and phrases to describe their experience and their feelings and what they were looking for and what they were worried about and how they bought. They all have that in common, and they never talk to each other, but they use the same language. So it's bankable. And that's where we start when we start working with a client. We need that truth. And then you can choose your channels and decide where and how much you're going to spend and all of that.
Wow, this is really, really profound, especially with the three points you actually just make reference of: desire, concern, and question. And I think before now, even if I was to call my clients and find out what their feedback was about my product, definitely I can't narrow it down to what specific it is. But just you giving me these three blueprints, it just opened my eyes to a whole lot of reality of what you could actually more like streamline into once you actually know that, okay, it's definitely going to be desire, concern, and questions. So having these three bases really, really speak volume to how you could actually understand why buyers actually buy, other than the general way of just collecting feedback without even knowing what way it leads to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your book roadmap to revenue focus on selling the way your customer wants to buy. What inspired you to write it, and what is one principle from the book that is applicable even today?
Well, I've been laying out some of the principles already. I had to write it because I kept seeing people making this mistake, and they still are. I mean, that's the amazing, terrible thing. I can't retire because I'm not done yet. I keep seeing people say, oh, well, you have to do this and you have to use AI for that and, stalk your customer and find out what she cares about. And it has nothing to do with why they bought your product and how they bought your product. And that's all you need to know in order to sell more. You reverse engineer that, and you can create new sales and quantity doing that. So I had to write the book because I kept running into this. And by the time I wrote the book, I had dealt with hundreds of companies and interviewed thousands of customers. I mean, I'm talking about very tiny companies all the way up to IBM. And the truths about this were always the same. And since then, I've come up with this mindset idea since I wrote the book. But the book is an absolute prescription. It's not one theory and lots of examples. It tells you exactly how to do this. Because I can't interview everybody's customers in the world. I only can take on a certain number of clients. So I want people to know how to do this. And it should be the marketer or someone the marketer hires. Because the other side of this equation is that marketers do not have enough power in the company, and especially the big companies. They don't have the confidence of the CEO. And the reason they don't is because they're supposed to be the expert on the customer. And if they haven't interviewed the customers themselves or had somebody do it for them the way I spell out in my book, everything's in there, they won't have the power in the conference room. The engineer will say, well, that's not how we did it in our last company, so I think we should do this. And the CFO will say, oh, that's too much money. But, when I buy that kind of thing, this is what I think. All of that is ridiculous, has nothing to do with anything. If the marketer can stand up in that conference room and say, wait a minute, that's not what I heard. I just talked to 10, 12 people this last month. And here's exactly what they want.
Wow,
then
this is
you've got
really, really
power.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. So you have said that business is about love, not greed. A love for your customer, employees, and yourself. Can you unpack it a bit?
Yeah, I'm I'm working on a second book. It's taking me way too long because I've got so much to do right now, but it's called Love, Leverage, and Logistics: How You and Your Company Can Change the World. And basically what it's about is there are millions of businesses, probably billions of businesses out there. And I've done a lot of research. The United States, for example, 90 some odd percent of the businesses have 9 employees or less. So, yes, you always hear about the big corporations and everything, but the small companies are the backbone of the economy in all countries. And those business owners have the capability to create what I call a safe place for nice people to work. There's 2 kinds of people in the world. There's nice people and there are jerks. And the jerks, I define a jerk as somebody who makes life harder on everybody else. I don't care how they do it. I don't care why they do it. You know, if they were bullied in school like the rest of us, everybody was bullied in school. Okay, so they decide at some point in their public life, once they get out into the public, that they're going to be a jerk. And that's how they behave. And they make life harder on everybody else. The nice people, the kind people, try to make things easier for other people. They go out of their way to say, "Oh, are you comfortable? Oh, yes, I'll do that for you next time. I'll give you these good instructions. I'll answer the phone. I'll be available for you." Like if you're a good boss, you know, you're available when they have questions. So these little microcosms, these little communities, these little families basically working together have the ability to take care. This is what love is. I was married 45 years to a wonderful man. He's dead now. But we were best friends and in love until the last day. And the way we did it is we worked at it and we took care of each other. That's what love is. So you take care of your customers, you take care of your employees, you take care of your partners. That's what I mean by that. And then, because you're so nice, people give back to you. Your employees work harder, they're loyal to you. They tell you when something's wrong and they tell you the truth. And customers want to give you their money because you took such good care of them. So that's leverage. And logistics, which is the part of the book I'm writing now, part of the reason it's difficult is because AI is changing everything about logistics and infrastructure and all of that. And so I'm having to make sure that it's going to be a book that's, you know, valuable a year from now. And that's going to be tricky because the technology is changing every minute. So that's what I talk about. And that's how you can change the world. If enough of us make good businesses and take care of people, you won't even need unions. You won't be people. I just read an article this morning about how something like 40%, or maybe it was more, of the workers, again, in the United States, are unsatisfied. They don't have a satisfying job. They're not happy working. And that could change if people stop dealing with all this sort of corrupt, crass kind of culture where they don't take care of each other. They don't tell the employees what's happening. You know, there's just so much of this sort of looking down on the workers thing. And that's not nice.
Actually, it isn't. I think the analogy you just gave really speaks volumes when it comes to love, because doing business from the standpoint of love and seeing your customer and your employees and everybody as an extension of it really helps very well in decision making, in how you actually make some strategic move. Yeah, actually, because I think I had a particular time that if you are looking forward to writing a book and you don't like people, at the end of the day, you write a book that people will not love to read. Meaning that there is no love for people in there. But even if you didn't know much, but you have this love preference for people, and at the end of the day, you are going to make a whole lovely sale from it. So it just don't mean that this love thing when it comes to between customers and the producers and the employees is an unspoken words. Once the energy is generated from the company perspective, which is the leader, it just has this energy that is being built around it. That people come to trust the brand. Employees are very happy to come around. They're very willing to give all their all to make sure that everything gets better. And seeing life from that particular perspective, yeah, make the society better, make everybody happier. And at the end of the day, make the society very lovely to live in. And just
Yeah.
your own standpoint, it's really, really very lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. There's businesses all over the place. And if we all say, okay, this is what we're going to do, we're going to take care of everybody, and that will help us because people will give back. And then we're going to build systems and processes. This is where a lot of companies fall down. When I was a revenue coach, that was the weakest, always the weakest area in terms of revenue. My company now is starting to, our new headline for our website is "We stomp out your sales stoppers." Okay. So we're basically saying something is stopping you from making sales. And we especially work with business to business companies, B2B companies, and they all have this problem. Somebody gets excited and they sell them, and then they don't hear from them for 3 or 6 months. And they can't get any word from them, and they don't know where they went or if they'll ever come back. And everybody always says, oh, well, it's because it's a big company and they have a long sales buying cycle and they have to get approval. That's not been my experience. My experience has been that somewhere along the line, the company dropped the ball, and the person buying just said, oh, well. I mean, even the salesperson can say just a simple offhand comment sometime during the sales pitch. And the person listening will say, oh, I'm not going to do business with this company because of what
So
that guy
true.
just said.
Yes.
But they never show it. They just have this poker face, and they just look at you and they act like they're still listening because they don't want you to overcome their objection. They hate that when you do that. So they're just very polite, and the salesman leaves and he calls his boss and he says, hey, I got a good one here. I'm all excited. And the customer has basically decided, I'll never do business with these people. And he went back to his computer and started looking again for another vendor. That happens
So
all the
true.
time. And I'm
Amazing.
trying to help people understand that that's happening. And I have ways of doing it. I interview the customers, the people who work, the people who manage, and then the partners. And that gives you this truth. Where is it falling through the cracks? Where are the weaknesses? And sometimes one person will say, well, I think the big problem is over here. So it might not be something they're sort of confessing to, but something they've observed that they think management just isn't fixing. And it drives them crazy. So, this is how you get that information. And then we use AI to say, what are the promises that this company's making? Because marketing is nothing more than promises. And how many of these promises are they breaking? And that's another place where the sales, because people talk to other people and say, no, 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 I bought from them, and then I had this problem and they never got back to me. They ghosted me. This is a terrible company. That's that's a sales stopper. Okay. So we find those, and we also find the ones that the competition is doing, so that there's some opportunities for you. Promises are they making and breaking? And then we say, okay, what are the promises you can make that they want you to make, and the ones that you can keep? Now we've got a strategy. Now we know their desires, concerns, and questions, and the promises they want you to make that you can make. And if you can't make them just because of this or that, we'll help you fix that. And now you're on the roadmap to revenue.
This blueprint is really very lovely, and I must say. Yeah, thank you so much, Kristin, for sharing. So looking back, what was one turning point in your career that made you rethink how you approach business growth?
I think I've talked about it. I think the first one is you have to know what you're talking about if you're going to sell. And the second one is if you don't understand what the customer really wants, you're not going to succeed. You'll just be, those are the two things that have driven me my whole career.
So you have worked with company of all sizes. Do small business actually have similar problems too?
Sure. Yeah, it gets worse in the big corporations because they basically build whole systems that allow them to ghost the customer. They don't want to talk to customers. They want everything. I mean, Back in the day, my husband and I helped introduce all kinds of tech because we were working in Silicon Valley. And one of those technologies was voicemail. And I've regretted it ever since. I mean, it's so unusual now to just have someone answer the phone and help you instead of run you through, 10 questions and not all of them are the ones you want. And it's just like you come to the door and you knock and they look at you and say, well, you can't come into the store until you answer all these questions. And if we
Yeah, well,
don't give you the choice to talk to an operator, well, never mind. We don't want your business. So that's a real problem. We tend to work with mid-sized companies mostly. I will say that. I've worked with enough startups in my career, and I'm sort of focusing. It's happier for me from a cash flow perspective to work with mid-size. So that's what we do.
wow, amazing. Yeah, thank you. So many young trade people and entrepreneurs struggle to find mentors or internship. How do you think they can approach experienced professional for opportunity the right way? Who are still more like they just started their business and they have some professional they are actually looking up to. How they can they actually tap into their experience to gain leverage towards what they do?
Well, the first thing is just please take my advice and interview customers because you'll never learn as much about how you need to sell. And honestly, you're not really selling. You're making it easy for them to buy. They already want something when they come to you. They already have money in their hand and they're trying to spend it. And your job is to make it super easy for them to spend their money with you. And when you look at it that way, not as a seller, but as a buyer, and you understand them as a buyer, now you're going to sell more. I don't care what you're doing, even if you're not selling and you just want to make sure your boss thinks you're a good worker. Interview your boss. Find out what your boss wants. He has desires, concerns, and questions. He's a buyer of help, of people. So you need to find out what he really wants because you could be working over here trying to make all this work. And he's over there saying, no, 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 this is what I want. You got to know that.
Wow, amazing. Thanks a lot, Kristen. So you have been in leadership for years. What's one lesson have you learned about managing?
It comes down to taking care of people again. When I would do a marketing or sales department turnaround, the first thing I would do is interview customers before I even started the job because I knew once I got in there, it would be hard. I'd have so much to do. The second thing I would do is sit down each person in my office with the door closed and say, what kind of work makes you happy and what kind of work you wish you didn't have to do. Then I would reorganize the department so everybody, as much as was possible, was doing the work they wanted to do, and somebody else was doing the work that they hated because that person liked that kind of work. There's detail people and there's extroverts and introverts and people who hate spreadsheets and there's different types of work that they like to do. And I would match the work to the person's desires. And then they were all happy. And the other thing I would do is find the jerk and fire him.
Amazing.
And everybody would be like, yay, she got rid of the jerk. Now we get to work.
So finally, looking back at your journey, what does success mean to you now? And what keeps you inspired to continue teaching others?
I know that this works because I've done it over and over and over again. And I really don't want to give up this work until I'm sure that people finally understand that you need to know your customer before you can sell them anything. And that's it. And you need to then take care of them after they buy, during the buying process. Every interaction has to be one where it's obvious you know what they want and you've set yourself up to give it to them. That's it.
Wow, you know what they want and you serve them the way they are. Wow, this is really, really profound. And we can't wait for your upcoming book. So love, leverage, and logistics. Oh, thank you so much. So Christy, how can my audience learn more about you, connect with you, and do business with you?
Well, they can Google or AI me and I come up. Just my name. I've been writing and teaching and podcasting and speaking for years and years. So that's one thing. My website, our website is zhivagopartners.com. And my book, I only sell it on Amazon because that's where everybody goes to buy
Yeah.
their books. So the book's there, Roadmap to Revenue, How to Sell the Way Your Customers Want to Buy.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much, Kristen. It's really been lovely having this conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing such powerful insight on leadership, customer connection, and growth. I know our listeners, especially those building businesses from the ground up, we take away a lot of things from the stories and the wisdom. To everyone tuning in, you can learn more about Kristi's work at our Shivago partner and check out her book, Roadmap to Revenue, on Amazon. Until next time, keep learning, keep building, and remember, success is built one honest connection at a time. It's really a pleasure once again having you on the show, Kristi.
Same here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good interview.
Yeah, thank you.